Today's episode is a bit different, less about corrosion rates or failure modes, and more about why this podcast even exists. If you've been listening since the early days, you already know the TPA podcast isn't trying to go viral. It's not monetized. It's not about algorithms or ads. It's about insight. It's about building something meaningful. And honestly, it's about creative expression. When we started exploring AI tools to help streamline the development of the TPA podcast, I'll be the first to admit, it wasn't smooth. Our TPA team was frustrated. Early experiments with scripting, content organization, and workflow integration felt more like tech support than engineering storytelling. But we kept going, because we had a hunch that these tools, if used properly, could unlock something powerful. Not just faster content, but clearer content, more impactful content. And what we learned along the way is this. High-quality podcast episodes aren't built on flashy narration or slick production. They're built on high-quality source material. That meant we had to dig deeper into what really matters: actual field data, failure reports, inspection results, and years of technical findings. That's where the TPA podcast found its voice. Because what we uncovered in those reports changed the game. Take internal corrosion. After analyzing years of performance data across the WCSB, we started to see a startling trend. Nearly 87% of pipeline failures attributed to internal corrosion could be traced back, not just to what was in the pipe, but to upstream well behavior. That insight shifted how we think about corrosion mitigation. It reframed how operators prioritize inline inspections. And for many companies, it has become the new foundation for pipeline risk management and mitigation. And then, there's the work on non-metallic pipelines. For decades, fiberglass and spoolable composite pipelines were dismissed as failing due to poor construction or factory defects. But when we looked deeper, when we layered pipeline failure timing against operating history and upstream conditions, a different picture emerged. It turns out, over 90% of those historical failures were tied to exposure to detrimental operating conditions, not manufacturing flaws or field construction or joining practices. These were failures triggered by pressure cycling, thermal expansion, terrain-induced slugging, triggering physical buckling and elongation, followed by time-based strength deterioration. That discovery brought reliability-centered thinking into the upstream world, shifting the narrative from bad pipe to bad conditions. And that's the real story, the why behind the TPA podcast. Because this isn't just about highlighting problems, it's about solving them. It's about connecting the dots that weren't connected before. And it's about sharing those insights in a format that field teams, regulators, engineers, and operations leaders can actually use. It's about shining light on key factors previously held within the blind spot. None of this would have been possible without the support of this growing listener community. You've stuck with us through almost 80 episodes, many of which tackled ideas that weren't easy or mainstream, and you've helped make this podcast what it is today. Some episodes stand out, not because they were flashy, but because they hit a nerve. Episode 49, when an intermittent plunger lift gas well-spiked internal corrosion downstream. Episode 35, startup surge problems that triggered corrosion rates 10 times higher than normal. Episode 78, a call to rewrite industry standards that still overlook solids-driven corrosion mechanisms. Episode 26, a reminder that integrity isn't just technical, it's human. People matter more than tech. Episode 65, the story of a failure where procedures were followed, but conditions changed. Those episodes connected because they reflected real-world problems and offered practical, data-driven insights. That's the energy we're bringing into every episode, whether it's batch inhibitor interactions with solids, non-metallic failures, terrain-induced slugging, or the importance of downhole flow conditioning. We're not here to just talk, we're here to move the needle. And AI, it hasn't replaced engineering thinking, it's amplified it. By freeing up time and helping structure complex narratives, it has allowed us to elevate why things fail and what we can do better. So here we are, almost 80 episodes in. And still, the mission hasn't changed: to challenge assumptions, to uncover what the data really says, to support the people who are trying to do this right, and to keep pushing forward one episode at a time. Thanks for being here, Thanks for listening, and thank you for making this a platform built not just on facts, but on purpose. We appreciate your words of encouragement. Until next time, this is the TPA Podcast.